Every single time. Okay, so let's start. We're going to start seated this morning. We're just going to do a little bit of meditation. I'm just going to grab the blocks that I want. So just come to sit down. You can use your block or just sit cross-legged. And if you can, shuffle a little bit forwards on the block so that almost the ridge of the block is holding your bum. And this is going to help you kind of tilt forwards. If this isn't comfortable, then don't do it. Just come to sit in a way that feels comfortable. And then just bring your hands onto your knees, palms facing up or down, whatever works best for you. And just close the eyes. I want you to just take a couple moments here to just let go of whatever's been happening so far in your morning. Just taking a couple of breaths, tuning in, kind of feeling into the body. In these first moments of our practice where we kind of transition to the mat are so important. And just noticing any sensations in the body, surface sensations that are maybe speaking a little bit louder than anywhere else. If you're feeling uncomfortable, feel free to fidget or move. Sometimes the first position that we come into doesn't always work out for us. And so we're going to practice a style of meditation that is like mindfulness. We're becoming aware of what's going on in the body and the mind. And I call this Now What? And it helps us with what's called global awareness. And it helps us to not hold on to things. So as we age, we start to really hold on to things, covet things. And when we lose these things, because nothing in life is permanent, it can have a really intense effect on us. When you lose someone you love, when you lose, if you think about COVID, all the freedoms that we lost, this kind of meditation helps us with our rebound, helps us with understanding the change, but then being able to move on. So it's really simple. You're going to notice a thought when it comes to the mind. Perhaps my ankle is uncomfortable. And then you'll just simply say to yourself, now what? And then you just wait for the next thought to come. My tummy's grumbling. I'm quite hungry. Recognize it. And say, now what? And move on to the next thought. We're just going to practice this for 2 to 3 minutes. And all you're doing is recognizing thoughts as they come. Okay, it might be, this is really silly. Why is Megan making us do this? Recognize the thought and then just simply say, now what? And move on to the next one. So finding a sense of ease. And just for the next few minutes, just practicing letting go of any thoughts that come. And if the mind wanders, just simply recognize, oh, my mind's wandering. Now what? And just doing another 30 to 40 seconds of this, seeing if you can stay with it. And just take a nice deep breath in through the nose. And then just open the mouth and sigh it out. And just do 2 more like this. Nice deep breath through the nose. And then open the mouth and just let it go. 1 more like this. And just gently fluttering the eyes open, not racing to look at the screen, but simply taking in what's in the room, what's maybe on the floor. And then from here, just reaching your left arm out towards the mat. Take your right hand 45 degrees, turn the palm to face up, take an inhale, and then just exhale, start to reach over. We're just going to move dynamically into the stretch. So kind of coming in and out of it, like an elastic band that you're kind of pulling and then releasing. And maybe noticing each time if you can reach a little bit further over. And just finding that stretch, opening laterally into the side of the body. Good. And then placing that hand down onto your left knee. Spin the left fingers behind you. Find length first through the torso. Then just start to take a gentle twist. Just a couple of breaths here, bringing that rotation into the spine. Maybe turning the head a little bit further than the shoulders. And then unraveling, bringing your right hand onto the floor. Left hand reaches out to the side. Turn the palm to face up. Take an inhale. And then exhale, just start to reach over. And again, we're going to use the breath. So every time you inhale, kind of bring yourself a little bit out of the stretch. And as you exhale, see if you can come a little bit further. And feel free to have the eyes closed so that you're feeling into the body. And we're going to be really using this dynamic style of stretching today. So we'll be holding poses, but you're going to be moving in and out. So get really comfortable with this kind of rhythm, this cadence. And then looking down to that right knee, place the hand on it, right hand behind you. Inhale first, find that length of the spine. Then exhale, start to twist. Every time you inhale, finding that length. And every time you exhale, twisting a little bit more. Again, if it feels okay, you can take the head or the gaze further than the shoulders. Nice. And then come back to center. Inhale those hands high to the sky. And then exhale, just take a little fold forwards, hands on the floor. And just inhale, kind of ripple the spine up slightly. And as you exhale, ripple back down. And just do 5 of these. Maybe drawing the belly in on the inhale. And as you exhale, think about reaching the head further away from those knees, further away from those feet. Lengthening that spine. And then gently crawling yourself up, coming off of your block and coming into tabletop position. So just move the block in front of you, finding the hands under the shoulders, the knees underneath those hips, and just start to move nice and gently through those cat-cows, finding your breath. If you want to stay with traditional cat-cows this morning, that's totally fine. If you want to start to explore just some natural movement, more organic, kind of sending the breath into the body, noticing any kind of places in the body that might feel like they need some movement. The only rule really is to just keep the hands and the knees where they are. Breathing, finding that space. Nice. And then eventually bring yourself back into neutral tabletop. From here, we're going to tuck our right toe, drag that right toe behind you, kicking into that heel. Nice long stretch in the back of that right leg. Left toe is going to go out to the side, and we're going to drop our right foot. And like a bow and arrow, we're going to peel that right hand up to the sky. Turn the palm to face forwards, and then reach over the head. Now, maybe a little bit less with the arm, but I want you to feel in the rib cage this dynamic stretching. So as you inhale, you're kind of lifting out of the side ribs. And as you exhale, you're kind of letting the arm become heavier. Inhaling, maybe the arm lifts slightly. Exhale. And let your head be really heavy here. Press into the outside edge of that back foot. Finding that stretch. And then eventually just let yourself kind of hang here, hand dripping towards the floor. Good. Now from here, we're going to transition into thread the needle. So you're going to slowly start to bring your right knee down, and you're going to thread your right arm onto the mat and take your right ear onto the floor. Walking your left hand forwards. Really, really stretch that left arm as far forwards as you can. And then start to walk those fingers a little bit to the left. Good. From here, maybe that left hand comes high, and maybe you feel comfortable wrapping it around the waist. Good. From here, if you want to challenge yourself, tuck your left toe, drag it behind you. And you might even play around with lifting that left foot off the mat. Wherever you are, I want you to just breathe. Find some stability, find some openness for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If the knee was lifted, bring it back down. Bring that left hand back down onto the floor by the face and reach that right hand all the way up to the sky. Nice. Bringing that right hand down, take the knees wide and just sit the bum back. Lengthen those arms. Forehead might come onto the floor. Walk those hands as far forwards as you can. Maybe coming onto the tips of the fingers, drawing the bum towards the heels. Just take 3 nice, really big breaths here. Inhaling, filling the back rib cage. And exhaling, belly heavy. Inhaling, maybe walking those hands a little further forwards. Exhaling, feeling the ribs contract back towards themselves. Last one. Good. Planting those hands, pulling yourself back up into tabletop. Bring those knees back so that they're underneath the hips, and then we tuck our left toe. Dragging that left toe behind us, finding that really nice stretch. And then we take that right toe out to the side, dropping our left foot onto the floor and peeling like a bow and arrow, left hand up to the sky. Turn the palm to face forwards and just start to explore that length. Inhaling, maybe feeling the rib cage, the arm lift, and exhaling, coming back down. Like this really nice wave, this rhythm. Every time, seeing if you can get that arm a little bit further, stretching into the skin, into the ribs. And then eventually find stillness, head and arms super heavy, just hanging, dripping down towards the mat. And then gazing to the floor, you're going to drop the left knee as you thread the left arm underneath, coming into that thread the needle. Right arm walks forwards. Finding that stretch, maybe walking that right arm over to the left just slightly so you feel the opening in the shoulder. And then bringing that right hand up, wrapping it around the waist, pulling that right shoulder back. So option to stay here. If you want a little bit more challenge, you can tuck the right toe, maybe lifting that right knee. Finding a sense of stability, a sense of openness wherever you are. Just breathing for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bringing that knee back down nice and slowly, bringing the right hand onto the mat. Push the floor away and bring that left hand high. Bring the hands back down onto the mat. Knees nice and wide. Sit back into that child's pose again. Really think about lengthening from the fingertips to the armpits, from the armpits to the hips. Couple of deep breaths here. Expanding as much as you possibly can into the shoulders, the side ribs, the back ribs. Lifting the head, looking to the hands, pulling yourself back up into tabletop, getting that nice stack of the wrists under the shoulders, the knees under the hips. And again, we're going to tuck our right toe, drag our right toe behind us, kick into that heel. We're going to lift the toe and step the foot to the outside of the right hand. So we're getting ready for lizard. Start to sink forwards as much as you can. Now, if you do have your blocks, feel free to use them. And I want you to really think about that dynamic stretching. So inhaling, lifting slightly, and as you exhale, sink into it. We're just going to do 10 to 15 of these. Getting that little tiny press out. It's not massive. And then exhaling, trying to sink even more. So wherever you are, hands on the floor, the blocks, elbows. Just start to move with the breath. Maybe doing about 5 more. And just feeling if every time you're looking for what's called spongy resistance, like you're pushing into the skin of a trampoline rather than pushing against a wall. From here, you're going to walk your right foot into the center between the hands of the blocks. And we're going to walk the hands of the blocks back so that they're under your shoulders. And we're going to start to sink into runner's lunge. So you can see that my hands are now further forwards than my shoulders. So again, I'm going to walk my blocks back so that I'm nice and stacked. Okay, I don't want to stress my shoulders here. Now look at your right foot. I want you to pull the toes towards you, but push the big toe away from you rather than letting the pinky toes run away. So try to flatten the ball of the foot. Inhale, find length. Exhale, fold forwards. And as you fold forwards, pull your right hip back. And just start to move with these rhythms, these waves of the spine. You can really exaggerate this like a Mexican wave as much as you want. Just try to keep the pinky toe from running away from you. So pulling the pinky toe edge in and pulling that right hip back. Nice. From here, what I want you to do is bring your bum onto the mat. Okay, I'll show you, I'm going to switch my legs, but you have your right leg forwards. So we're going to come into what's called half hero. So what we want to do is try to get the top of our foot onto the floor. And then your right leg out in front of you. So it's your left leg that's bent right now. Few options here. If you're tipping really far over to the right side, which is what I'm doing, okay, you can use a block. Or if this feels way too intense on the knee or the ankle, all you're going to do is lift your bum and scoot a block under. And then you're going to work on squaring the hips. So making sure that you kind of have even butt cheeks here. And if you want, you can flex the right foot or you can keep it soft. We're working on ankle mobility in the left leg. And just try to sit up nice and tall. Okay, if you don't feel a lot, you can lean your weight further back, especially if you're not on a block, okay? But make sure that you're not tipping over to the right, okay? Some of you might feel comfortable going down on the forearms or laying all the way back, arms over the head. Just make sure that you're not kind of rolling off that left leg. You want to keep everything centered. And we're just going to stay here for a few deep breaths. You really want to prop your bum up high, especially if you're getting any kind of sharp shooting pains. Discomfort, it's okay. I've got discomfort in my ankle and my knee. Not my knee actually, but just the top of my foot. My knee feels okay. This is where we really listen and start to understand what's the difference between, oh, that's uncomfortable, I know that I need to stretch, or that's making me feel really unhappy, I can't breathe very deeply, that's definitely pain. Pain is never what we're searching in yoga, ever. But we do have to be a bit uncomfortable sometimes. Just 5 more breaths here. If you are lying down, I want you to start to prop yourself up. If you're on a block, just tip off of that block and then sweep your left leg forwards. It might feel really weird, really funny. Give those feet a little shake, okay, a little wiggle, point and flex the feet, just releasing any tension that you might be holding. Ooh, good. And then just cross those ankles, roll over the knees, and come back into tabletop position. If you want to take a little child's pose, go for it. And then make your way back into tabletop. So again, stacking the bones on top of each other. This time, left toe tucks. We drag it behind us, kicking into that heel. And then we're going to step that left foot forward. So again, grab those blocks if you use them in that lizard on the other side. What I like about the setup with lizard with the blocks is that often people need the blocks for runner's lunge, and this means that you've got them handy. So you can have the blocks on any setting. I like to be a little bit higher than I normally would be when I'm doing dynamic stretching. And that's because if I'm as low as I can't really take it any further. Or if I'm a little bit higher, I can really start to play around with coming in and out of the pose. So close your eyes and just start to move dynamically in and out. Maybe timing it with the breath. And then pushing yourself out, walking your left foot to the center, start to sit back. Now, as you sit back, taking the hands or the blocks with you. Starting to flex that foot. So the toes are going to come towards the face. Now look at the toes, okay? You want to push the big toe away from you, draw the pinky toe in, then just take an inhale, really lengthen the spine. And as you exhale, try to melt into it at the same time that you pull your left hip back. And then again, as kind of wavy as you want to be with the spine, just moving in and out. Okay, so we're gonna prep for that half hero. So maybe moving those blocks for a moment out of the way. Might not be the prettiest of transitions, but essentially you wanna keep your left leg straight, bring your bum onto the floor. Then from here, you're gonna start to slide that right leg behind you again. So I'm just gonna switch again. So when you come into this, if you're really tipping, this is where a block can become really handy. You just shuffle the block underneath you, trying to get the very top of your right foot on the floor. And you'll feel, most of you will feel the pressure on the top of that big toe. And then trying to straighten the spine and get that weight traveling through the center of the pelvis. You might be fine sitting on the floor. Okay, if you can do that, that's great. You might want to explore coming back again. But before you rush into taking it deeper, just make sure that the alignment is okay and make sure that your joints are okay. So the ankle, the top of the foot, the knee, they're the most important ones here. And then just closing the eyes. And we just breathe. I'm just taking 5 more breaths here. And if you're on your back, slowly making your way back up, you're going to shuffle the block out from beneath you. If you had a block there, not always the easiest. Tip the weight towards the left to send that right foot forwards, and then just wake up the feet. Roll the ankles, whatever you need to do. Good. So coming up to seated, doesn't matter too much if there's a little rounding in the back. If you feel like you're really, really rounding when you have the legs straight, again, just sit on a block. From here, you're going to roll forwards. So let the belly be soft, let the head be soft. If you have a block and you want to use it under the head as a little prop, then go for it. But it takes getting a nice passive stretch in the hamstrings and the connective tissue along the legs. Just doing one last nice stretch for the posterior side. Okay, so the underside, the back side of the body. We're stretching the thoracic spine by collapsing and rounding. We're stretching the hamstrings. We're stretching some of the hip flexors here. And either staying where you are, if you want to, you can explore just kind of walking yourself off to the right, maybe walking that left hand a little bit further. Just taking a little twist here. You should feel that maybe across the left shoulder or the left half of the thoracic back area as you come into this twist. And then walk yourself back through center and just do the same thing. So coming over to the left, this time you're going to get that twist, that stretch in the right side. And you might notice that you feel it a lot more on one side than the other. My right is not as intense as my left. The further that you walk the right hand forwards, the more intense the twist or the stretch will be. Good. Gently come back to center and then just slowly start to restack the spine. Good. From here, shuffle your butt forwards until your heels are just off the mat. Keep one of your blocks handy, reach the arms forwards around the back, and we're just going to slowly lower down. Just trying to melt each part of the vertebrae onto the floor, drawing that navel in towards the spine, bringing yourself all the way down, interlacing the fingers, and then just taking a nice big stretch here. Lengthening out the whole body, maybe even taking a little yawn. And then release. So we're just going to spend the last few stretches working on the anterior side. So stretching the front line of the body. So start to bend the knees, bringing those heels nice and close to the bum. Come onto the balls of your feet and you're going to start to lift your butt. Now you're going to try to shuffle your block under your sacral spine on its highest setting. Now, for anyone who this just feels too intense, like I can't even get my heels down, don't go on the highest setting, okay? We've all been doing a lot more sitting than we're used to, and we've tightened up across the front body. So if you need to take it lower, go for it. Now, stop looking at the screen because we want our neck to be totally straight. So take your gaze up to the ceiling, maybe even tucking the chin to elongate the neck, and then perhaps bringing the eyes to close. I want you to press down through the big toe mound so that you're going to keep your knees directly above the ankles and the knees not flopping out to the sides. And then from here, if you want to, you can bring the arms behind you, elbows bent. And just start to, with every exhale, just let the pelvis become heavier and heavier. Let the hips release. Let them soften. Almost like the bones of the body are being magnetized down, down, down. Maybe deepening the exhales. And then from here, if you want to deepen the stretch, you can start to walk the legs further forwards. Now, some of you are going to be able to totally straighten the legs. Some of you, that's going to feel too intense. So you might be like half bent, half straight. And if you want to intensify it even more, straighten the arms rather than having the elbows bent. Now, you're going to feel this stretch with the most intensity, probably at the front of the hips and at the front of the abdomen. If you have any pinching in the lower back, it means that it's too intense on your lower back. So just bend the knees until that intensity, that hinge point softens. And again, focus on the long exhales. Nice long exhales. At any point, if it becomes too intense, just bend the knees a little bit. You can also, if you're on your highest setting and it's too much, you can try doing the straight legs, but just knocking the block to maybe mid setting and exploring how that feels. And just taking 5 more deep breaths here. Gently walking the feet back in. Getting those feet underneath the knees, coming back onto the balls of the feet. You're going to lift your bum and then slide the block onto its lowest setting and bringing those hips down onto the block so that you're about an inch or two off the mat with those hips. And then just gently sending one leg and then the other up to the sky. Squeeze the legs together and then just release the squeeze and let them come naturally over those hips. And then from here, bring the hands up, lift the backs of the shoulders off the mat, and then poof, let the backs of the shoulders drop. My elbows bend, my fingers curl, my wrists bend. Maybe looking at the hands and the feet, the differences, where one leg maybe kind of falls where the other leg does. Maybe if one arm seems longer than the other. And then just eventually close the eyes. You might have a little sway, a twitch here and there. You might feel pins and needles. Just let these sensations wash over the body, coming in and out of consciousness. And just remaining here for the next few moments. Visualize each and every part of the arm, the leg, the foot, the hands, the fingers, covered in a thick plaster. And I want you to just slowly start to crack the plaster, slowly bringing in tiny movements until you can eventually crack the plaster enough that you can start to move the hands and the feet. Maybe rotating the knees or the elbows. Cracking that plaster, maybe moving a little bit more. Just finding that movement in the arms and the legs. Feeling that freedom once again. But also feeling like renewed and fresh. And then gently start to bring the limbs back onto the floor. Lift the hips, move the block out from beneath those hips, and let the hips just drop into the mat. Keeping the feet wide, just let the knees drop to one side. Arms might come over the head. Just finding this twist, this stretch. And then gently guiding those knees back to center and just flopping them over to the other side. Just releasing. And then once again, gently coming to center. Maybe taking some butterflies, a happy baby, whatever you need. Or perhaps just slowly making your way into Shavasana. If you need a jumper or a blanket, feel free to grab it. Gently moving the arms down by the sides of the body so that your palms are facing up. Gently sliding the legs out in front of you if that feels good. If you'd rather keep the knees bent, then by all means do that. And just letting the eyes close down, finding stillness in the physical body. And seeing if you can bring this stillness into the energetic body and the thinking body. Just slowly start to deepen the breath again. Just gently wiggling in the fingers, wiggling in the toes. Maybe bringing a little bit of movement into the neck, gently rocking it from side to side. And finding a nice long stretch. So sending the arms over the head, maybe interlacing the fingers again, just waking up every little cell in the body. Maybe a big exhale if that feels good, waking up the senses. And gently rolling over either to the right or the left-hand side. Letting the bones stack. Ankles on top of each other, knees on top of each other, hips, shoulders, maybe even hands. Then keeping the eyes closed, gently push yourself into a comfortable seated position. And we come all the way back around, ending our class as we began. Hands resting on the knees once more. Slight tuck of the chin, elongating out of the crown of the head. And just taking a moment to reflect back to the start of the class. Noticing any small or subtle changes in body, mind, or breath. And then reaching the hands high above the head, palms come to touch, sealing your practice with gratitude. Thumbs drop to the space between the brow for kindness and thoughts, to the lips for kindness and words, and then resting at heart center for you to carry kindness, compassion, and action through the rest of your day. Opening the eyes. Well done, guys. Namaste. Well done, everybody. Like always, if you've got any questions, let me know. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day.